All right. Well, now Halitics, I'm Hal Ginsberg. So glad to be talking to you today. It is a Friday. It's a free-for-all. And great to have you with us, Carlos, as always. How you doing today?
Oh, great. And so glad to be here with you. Hal.
Carlos, I love the fact that you've been able to come on the last couple of times live, so we're not recording it. It just makes my life a little easier, to be perfectly honest with you.
And I like it too. We get to have these interactions in the moment, even, get some commentary too from the public. So I love it.
Hope we do get some calls. 240-242-5646, 240-242-5646. Carlos, I have a lot to get to today, actually, including the reason I wasn't here yesterday. I didn't do a live show. I do them I'm pretty much clockwork, Carlos, maybe not always exactly the same time of day, but pretty much every day. Yesterday, I took a day off to go to the Institute for Policy Studies, I think it's called. And actually, before we get into the stories, including we'll feature Senator Gaza, but you had a thought about that conference. You knew about it. And what was your immediate reaction when I told you I was at that event?
I was surprised. So I heard about it from you, actually. I was surprised that you went, because when I saw the lineup of people, I was like, oh, this seems like a new kind of thing that I'm calling neo-progressives. They're the people that back when Bernie Sanders first launched, we would call them, oh, these are the strong progressive people. Now they're fully indoctrinated in the Democratic Party. They're the people who are progressive, they support the progressive policies, but they're not going to really do anything to really move it forward. Yeah, you're neo-progressives, you have your neoliberals.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, you nailed it. And it was very disappointing for me because their goals would appear to be aligned with ours, peace, an end to the war, Israel's genocide, let's put it that way, an end to that, Medicare for all. They're clearly for that, taking on the climate catastrophe. So those issues, I believe they're on the correct side of all of them, and they spoke strongly. But when it comes to actually taking on the malefactors, I heard nothing. I really did, Carlos.
Yeah, it's trying to work within a corporate establishment to get non-corporatized things. That's like going to a pizza restaurant trying to get sushi, and we're going to force them to give us sushi. It's not happening. They don't make it. You're not going to get it. And you're not going to go to the Democratic Party saying, hey, we're going to have a populist economic foreign policy plan. And they're like, what are you talking about? AIPAC lives here. It's like going to AIPAC and expecting them to say free Palestine. It's not going to happen.
Right. Or if you get that sushi, I can guarantee you the fish is going to be a couple days old and it's not going to smell very good. And that's what you're going to be getting from these people. By the way, don't forget to click like. Seeing a lot of, Carlos, I love the thumbs up. Yeah, a lot of people now joining Halitics on Facebook, and I'm hoping we get more posts as well. I like to see that. Also, generally, we're seeing a slight increase in the number of viewers, although not obviously as much as I like. Say it again. I'm sorry.
Do you live stream to Facebook and YouTube?
Yes, I now am live streaming to Facebook, which probably may actually be cannibalizing a little bit. In other words, folks who are watching on Facebook when I aren't going to go over to YouTube, right? They see it on Facebook. They're like, I don't need to go to YouTube. In the past, you had to click the link to get the video, and it would take you to YouTube. So now you have another. But that's good in the way total viewers is up, I'm sure, by a significant margin, but just on YouTube. So there's by the way, let me stop that thumbs up, was going for too long. By the way, that's your cue, folks. If you're watching on Facebook, maybe check us out on YouTube and join as a subscriber. Certainly does help. Let's talk about Gaza just real quick, Carlos. We have so much. I want really also the story involving Trump. I mean, this is really kind of blowing up, isn't it, with Trump and Epstein? We want to get to that. I'm a little surprised. I'll just billboard that. I was a little surprised he was that intimate with Epstein. I thought it was more the president who was closest to Epstein was Clinton, and they obviously had a relationship as well. But it looks like Trump was a bestie for a while with the panderer, procurer, sex trafficker, child abuser. Gaza death toll now. This is the worst place on the planet. And this is from yesterday. I actually put in the box there the date. It is yesterday, July 17. Although they use that European, does that confuse you the way they use the European Convention, Carlos, 1707? I always have to think about that for a second.
Yeah, because I always look at like, what is it, extra months in the calendar that we're not told about? But
I know,
yeah,
right?
I wonder what made them start doing it in that way. Like,
I actually think it makes more sense because they go date 12, month June, year, 12 or whatever, June 7, 12, 7 June 12. So you separate the two numbers, the day of the month and the year, you separate them with the month in the middle, whereas we have to do a comma, June 17, comma 25. So I actually see why they do it that way, but it's confusing for us Americans for sure. And the hardest is when it's like the day is a day that, like, if it was 11, if it was July 11th, you'd be like, wait, is it November 7th or 11th?
Yeah, right.
Whatever. So
see how this is going to be the one time I actually rep the United States. I think we got it right the way we do it.
You like it the way.
That's the one patriotic thing about me.
All right, I won't argue with you. I don't know, when I was in England a long time ago, I kind of thought, oh, it's kind of cool the way they do it. But anyway, this is from yesterday. They have not updated. They hadn't updated when I cut this out from Anadolu Ajansi. So near 58,700. Tragically, it's probably over 58.8 now, or 58. It's probably close to 58.8, I should say. 94 more dead. 2 days in a row, Carlos, 94. Reported dead. I think one of those may have been a body that was recently found but hadn't been necessarily killed yesterday. But there's your 94. I'll just put that up real quick. Those are brought to hospitals. You know what also is awful about this is a lot of those folks were killed when they were trying to get food.
Yeah, people just trying to survive. And again, I mean, it can't be stated enough. This is America's, or the United States' genocide, just along as Israel. It's even getting to the point you cannot even just say we are enabling it. We are the reason it's happening, because without us, it cannot go on. It cannot happen. And even to see the expansion of this, one, also the total annexation of the West Bank, just in total, is disgusting too. But even you see now bombing I believe it was the Assyrian capital, like just with regular people every day, just straight up bombed it. And you had regular people who were just walking around who were affected by it. You have what's going on in Iran. You have literally, we are looking at what could turn into another world war, what is turning into modern day colonialism of we will expand our country and we will be. This is similar to one of the world wars where it was, we will run this whole region.
You know, one of the arguments you hear, I've heard a lot of people say, well, it's not like the Holocaust. You shouldn't compare it to the Nazis. And the only difference that I can see is the numbers. The Israelis haven't killed as many, but they're well on the way. I mean, it's like, what more do you need? What more? It's absolutely one of the worst atrocities I think the world has observed, except you could say, yes, the total number doesn't approach what we've seen in the past, but it may well be, right? Because we've heard numbers are in the hundreds of thousands. Actually, the reality is.
Yeah. And how many people are not, and the numbers that we get are only calculated of people who are dying because specifically shootings or bombings, not the people who are starved to death, not the people who get diseases because of dirty drinking water and the lack of electricity, sanitation, the health issues that comes from just after a bomb is dropped, the toxins that people are breathing in as well. So yeah, there are multiple. I mean, I don't even think if someone is hit with the bomb, then they have to go into surgery without any type of anesthesia or medicine, and they die at the surgery table. I don't even believe that that's counted as a death from the genocide. That's just counted as a death that happened.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Wow. I want to look into that further. That would explain exactly why Doctors Without Borders, Doctors Against Genocide, the UN, the Lancet are all saying the number is much higher. You know, by an order of magnitude higher, right? Like 2, 3, 4 times higher than what. Not just like, well, maybe it's like, there's another 50 or 100 you can throw on. No, we're talking another 100,000, 200,000, 300 killed. It's awful. There's no way, there's no words. You just feel like, I feel like I have to talk about it. I know a lot of hosts don't, they kind of, or they mention it, but this is the worst thing in the world. It's like the climate catastrophe, the climate holocaust. I'm not going to stop talking about that either.
Yeah.
Are you, let me ask you this, Carlos, because, my ethnicity is Jewish, and I think Jews have been perceived throughout history. I think the general perception has always been, and with some reason, either we're victims a lot of times, or at least when people look back in history, at least, during in Europe for the past 1,000 years. And there's a lot of positive feelings people might have. Does it surprise you as a non-Jew, as an African-American, or I don't know, maybe you're not supposed to say African-American. I heard someone say you shouldn't say that. Jesse Jackson was wrong to you that term. I have no problem with it. Does it surprise you to see the Jewish state committing this crime?
About the African-American part, I'll say, I personally say black about myself. But
I'll start saying black. I'll go with black.
Yeah, some people say black, some people say African.
No term is perfect, right? Because we're all like, I'm not really white, you're not really black. And plus, there are Indians who are actually darker skinned than most blacks or Africans or whatever. So
it's all race is a social construct anyway. It was just made to separate people. But am I surprised to see? Okay, the reason that I will say no is because I think any population that has power is able to do what they want to do. They're able to commit a genocide. They're able to mass kill off a bunch of people. They're able to have this nationalistic sort of theocracy to their government. I mean, that's why I always say I separate religion from people, because people can do whatever they want to and have whatever evil atrocities that they want to do. And religion is just a practice that people have. It can even be a cultural side to them. But just because you're a Jewish person, a Christian, a Muslim, a Catholic, whatever, does not mean that you separate yourself totally from the human aspect of the evil side of just people, of what people are capable of. So no, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either. I would have been, 30, 40 years ago. But over time, I've come to see it exactly the same way as you do. We're tribal beings, and we all are practice group dynamics. And I think we see that, and we'll get to it more, certainly in our politics in America today, even the way we sort of break off into these groups. We call ourselves Democrats or Republicans, and it's so hard for people, I think, to break out of the group that they have either joined or that invited them in or they feel comfortable in. And so no matter how bad your, quote, group behavior may be, you're asking an awful lot of people to say, I'm going to break with them. I'm going to stop.
No, you're right. I mean, how I would even look at it and say the incentives for Israel to keep doing what they're doing is the backing of United States. So it's also they're supported to keep doing what they're doing because the United States has a longer term project of wanting the colonialization of the Middle East and the takeover and removal of a lot of people in there too. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, I got nothing to add to that. It's 100% right. I jumped the gun by putting this slide up, but let's move to it. So this is the big story. I had planned to focus really on the Institute for Public Policy Studies event, and we will get to it, folks, I promise. By the way, join us at 240-242-5646. I'm going to see. I can't always check the chat. I try now and then, but it isn't always easy for me. What was your reaction? Because to me, wow, I thought this was kind of the bombshell story, and it seems to have really captivated folks, especially maybe MAGA. Epstein's friends sent him bawdy letters. They're disgusting. They're not bawdy. They're just gross. Yeah. And he's gross for his 50th birthday. One was from Trump, and we're going to get to the specifics. What are your takeaways on this?
Wealthy people have a level of, first of all, I think the richer you get, the more nasty and weird you get too, because you feel like you can do whatever you want to. I think it's weird that it's like they're all like it's like they're all in on this sick, disgusting joke, and they're all like, "Hey, we're gonna just keep hyping it up." I mean, it's not even a joke. It's sick crimes, disgusting things against, like, these are crimes against humanity to a point. And I mean, he's connected to very, very, very powerful people, and I want to also kind of push this on to people too, of that we think of the people who actually engaged in these disgusting acts with Jeffrey Epstein as like, oh, those are the people who are wrong too. We also have to look at the people outside of it who may not have been committing these acts, who were letting it go by and not doing anything about it. I mean, it's like when you look at police officers who are murdering people, but especially Black people, we look and say, oh, those are bad officers. We'll look at all the other officers who have allowed that to happen and didn't say anything, and didn't speak up or stop it. They're just as wrong as the officers who are doing it.
I think that's a fair point. I don't know if I'd say they're just as wrong. I mean, there's degrees of guilt. Like, I would say Trump and Biden are as guilty as Netanyahu for the genocide, or almost, because they're giving him. It's like if you give someone a gun to shoot somebody else, you're pretty much as guilty. So that's what's happening. Maybe if you see someone else commit a crime and you don't stop it, that's bad. It's not quite as bad as handing them the weapon. So there's varying, levels of guilt, I think. I mean, when you look at the George Floyd situation and the cop who actually choked the life out of him, he's the murderer, right? But what about the cops who are watching it? They're guilty. I don't think they're quite as guilty as I forget the name of the guy who committed the crime. Chauvin, yeah.
Me personally, I put them all as the same amount of guilt, because you all allowed it to happen. You all had the power to stop it. It was your job to actually stop it, and you allowed it to happen. You are just as responsible as him. You didn't physically do it, but you created a situation where he was able to do it.
That's a tough one. I mean, I hear that. I think that's a close call. Some are more difficult than others. That one is a very close call. By the way, from the chat, both parties are traitors. Shows a crown number 2. Please, 2 thumbs up. I'm not sure what the crown is supposed to mean. Does that mean like they're a favored poster maybe? And then I have from Ari, great guest with Palestine flag. So great guest. Good job there,
awesome.
Carlos.
Thank you.
So there you have the two buds, the two BFFs there with a sort of smirky fraternity grin. And this picture kind of reminded me of a picture in my high school yearbook of a friend of mine and me after we had been out for somewhat of a liquid lunch. And I'm like, okay, we look like jerks, loser, not, I don't say loser, but jerks and caddish behavior. But we were 18. These guys are 50. This is just not acceptable. And your point, 100%, these are very wealthy people, very well connected. Obviously, Trump, probably a billionaire at that point, and they can get away with anything. They don't give a crap.
Yeah, the last thought in their mind was that they would ever be caught up in anything. I mean, I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein, one of his last thoughts was he'd be dead right now and not still doing what he's doing. Trump, I'm sure, did not think this would ever be a big deal of what he's doing. It's almost like the whole thing with Diddy, and you had a lot of people who were engaging in it, enabling what's happening, and a part of it who are probably like, I never thought it would ever be a big deal. I thought what we were doing was all cool because, hey, it's us and we got the money to do it, and who's going to stop us?
Do you think Trump actually offed Epstein? I mean, someone killed him, right? I mean, I'm not buying for a second he committed suicide. I mean, I know there's that raw footage that shows for like 12 hours, nobody going near the cell, except there were 3 minutes that just mysteriously weren't in there. And they have a million excuses. Oh, well, that's the way these surveillance videos always work. There's always a period of time when they're not running.
Yeah.
That's how security works.
That's how you have good security. Make sure it's not working.
Right. And you tell everybody, by the way, from 12:43 and 35 seconds until 12:48 and 11 seconds, we're doing maintenance work on the cameras.
Right.
I mean, someone killed him. Do you think it was Trump? I mean, he was president at the time.
The thing is, I'm not going to say it was Trump or wasn't Trump. I look at all the different just wealthy, connected, whether you're a celebrity, business person, just wealthy in general, who did not want to see that man testify or do anything or give up names. We don't know if he had videos, what information he had about who was in these rooms, that they felt like, look, I may be in danger. This person may be in danger. So I can't say it was just him. I have to look at everyone who was a part of it, as they were all scared of what could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, the people were the most powerful people, the richest people. Bill Gates implicated. Yep. I think at that time he was the wealthiest man in the world. Bill Clinton, one of the most, I guess he had just stepped down from being president. But, obviously these are the most powerful people, the most powerful men in the world are part of this.
Yep.
From
both parties.
Yes, exactly. And that was your point, I think, that I mean, should though, and we get to this question, but I think this story really is incredibly credible. Like, I read through it and I thought everything falls into line. I want to just go through that a little bit. So they describe this book, this leather-bound book that they found that, was given to Epstein, and various people signed it, including Trump. And Trump has these pictures of a, cartoon of a woman or girl and her breast, probably a girl because it's Epstein, and, mimicking pubic hair, and may every day be another wonderful secret. And I was thinking about that term secret. That's what they say you hear. And when I was a prosecutor, I prosecuted child abuse and neglect cases. So we would have families where girls or boys, anybody was neglected, or, the parents didn't protect them or didn't take care of them. Didn't have to be abused. Could have just been there left in dirty homes, what have you. So that was my job for a while. And that's one of the things that we would hear from some girls, is that their uncle or mommy's boyfriend or whatever would say, oh, this is our little secret,
Yep.
And they weren't supposed. So that was something I was thinking, is that this is what Trump is obviously alluding to in that. So I found this to be extremely credible. Is this what's this going to do politically to him? What can the Democrats do, if anything, politically out of this?
So that's two separate questions too, because I think, will this hurt him politically? I doubt it. I doubt this is going to be something that is going to be, it's a big deal. And I think it'll be a big deal online. I don't think it's going to hurt him politically. I also think Trump is at a moment right now, there's no kind of way to hurt him politically like that, because this is his last term. So to a point, he's kind of like, I can do what I want. What you going to do? Not vote for me when I'm not on the ballot? I think that, what are the Democrats going to do about it? I think the Democrats are not going to do but so much, because I think that, and the picture you put on there is just the reason. They know that it is very, not just Bill Clinton. You also have, like we said, Bill Gates, other big Democratic backers who are going to say, we do not need to blow this up, because if you do, my name's going to be inserted into this. So everyone is kind of on notice to shut up, talk about it just enough. And yes, you're going to get your people like Ro Khanna who pushed for them to release the Epstein files and things like that, even though the Republicans voted against it. You're going to have things like that happen, but I don't think it's going to be a push from the Democratic Party as a whole to get this message out there, because they don't want their people to be affected.
All right, just a couple of responses to what you said. First of all, you said that it won't hurt Trump in the sense that he's already a lame duck and that he can't run for re-election. But there's been a lot of fear, and I don't think it's completely unwarranted, that he might try to stay on, right? Either, say I'm changing the Constitution, I can run for a third term, or try to get. I think that this puts a little bit of throws a little salt on that potential option, or throws a little sand in the gears of a Trump third term. I really do. I think that there's a little bit of an issue there, because I think to the extent Trump would push for a third term, or would float that option, he would be looking to see how MAGA responds. And I think they'll be a little less enthusiastic. I think that this is going to hurt his standing with his most, some of his followers. So I think that's actually a positive outcome. You also mentioned, and this goes to your point earlier, Carlos, that the people who stand by and watch or allow a crime to happen can be as guilty as those who are perpetrating it. And you mentioned, when we were talking about this off air, it's not just Trump, it's not just Clinton. You said, who knows who else, maybe Obama. And I said, Obama's been, as far as I have my issues with Obama. Trust me, I'm not an Obama defender at all.
You're both of us.
But he seems to be, as far as I can tell, a good family man, loves his children. Yeah. And this is what I would say the same about George W. Bush, right? As much as he's a torturer, he's kind of a dummy. But at the same time, I think he really does love Laura. It doesn't seem like he ever cheated on her. I always said, what if I always thought maybe he and Condoleezza. I don't know why they seem
what a lot of people think.
Did you? Is that right?
Because he always talks so great about her. Even to this day, when people ask him, who do you think should be the Republican nominee? I'm saying who I always said, Condoleezza Rice. And
he loved her. He was so, yes, I know. But I mean, I don't even know if she likes men. Sorry to say that, but wasn't there that? I think that was said that she wasn't. No, it's not a put down. Maybe he was the man she loved.
She wants to. But okay, I'll say this. I think George Bush is the type of person, and I think this is why he also kind of won elections too, is that people see him as like, you think I have a beer with him? I think he honestly forms like just genuine relationships with people of like, he's one of the people I feel like if you saw him on the street and just went up to him and had a conversation, you have a genuine conversation about something.
I agree. And I don't think about that with Obama. I think Obama's sort of cold and standoffish and all that. But I do think he loves clearly Michelle and Malia and Sasha. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no question.
Bush loved his daughters, even though everyone talked trash about his daughters being drunks all the time.
Well, what about him? He had his problems with the bottle as well until he stopped drinking.
I'll say to my point, when I was talking offline with you about Obama, I don't think Obama was involved with Epstein as far as with children and all that evil stuff. I think of all the people who had, because to me, it is hard for me to assume, and this is all allegedly because I don't know, but it's hard for me to assume that people like Obama, George H.W. Bush, all the people did not know what was going on with Epstein. And the Justice Department did not know what was going on. And the FBI did not know. It's just that everyone just said, hey, look, this is just too powerful for us to take on. Just like with Diddy in the music industry. A lot of people knew what was going on. It's even reports people saying that Jeffrey Epstein was like an FBI informant, just like people are saying Diddy was an FBI informant. So the government, to some points, allows these things to go on because they're like, well, we're getting information from other stuff. So we're fine letting children just be
letting
abused.
Girls, right, letting underage and maybe boys too. I don't know whether there was any report, but it's certainly possible. That said, I don't know if I'm going to indict W because he was arrested, I think, in Palm Beach in 2009. So that was just after Obama became president. So I'm not sure whether I think I got that right. I'm going to look in the timeline real quick, but I don't know how much was available to Bush. I mean, I think Epstein had been doing this for 20 years. So it certainly was a long time when he had been engaged in this trafficking and pandering and procurement and all that of girls. But I don't know if it was certainly common knowledge. I mean, didn't Trump make some comment early in Bush's term that he likes them underage or something, like some young or something really crude? I didn't get that clip up, but the arrest, as I understand, in Palm Beach, where he was charged with 36 counts of child molestation was, I believe, in 2009.
Okay. I mean,
and then they gave him a sweetheart plea deal, right? He got a sweetheart. 2005. I'm wrong. Carlos, you're absolutely right. 2005. So he would have been. That was during Trump's second term, I believe.
Bush, yeah,
Just
Bush
to start. Bush, what did I say? Trump, yeah, Bush, W. Bush twos. Yeah, so that does implicate. For some reason, I thought it was a little later, but I was totally wrong. And they gave him a sweetheart deal, and there was a lot of talking. Maybe he was part of, with the Mossad, and he had lots of names and knew where all the bodies were buried. And so, yeah, go ahead, plea.
Say, hey, I'm not going to throw all these people under the bus, because then these people get thrown under the bus too. So I guess we just allow children to just get abused, and we don't know how. We do not even know the scale of the effects that this has had on the children, the families, how many people probably are dead now just because of what happened.
Some information will probably come out. Apparently, Trump did direct that there be the release. He told Mamdani to release a few documents. I'm sure whatever documents don't have his name on them, but you know what? You pull a thread, and sometimes you unravel the entire sweater. So hopefully, that could happen. Here is Harry, and by the way, I don't know if you watch this guy. I think he's pretty good. I like him.
He does a good job.
He's entertaining, isn't he? He's a lot of fun.
Because I feel like, Hal, it can't be that hard of a job, because it's just reading off a screen. So at least he has some good personality to at least, make it good.
And also he's got this accent. I love the New York accent. I think it's New York that he's got going for him. So let's play this play it, and then your comments.
This morning, we have a brand new CNN poll which shows 60%.
But I was just to say, this is Wednesday, I believe. So this was before Wednesday evening, or no, he said morning. So it would have been yesterday morning. This was just before the story broke from Wall Street Journal. So you want to say maybe that news will change this a little bit. I don't think it will, but we'll see.
Approval with the president's big tax and spending law. Polling shows the public and even some of the president's most ardent supporters are angry about the Jeffrey Epstein case. So surely this means that Democrats are surging in their efforts in the midterm elections. CNN senior data analyst Harry Etten is here. And Harry, A, don't call me Shirley. B, so compare this race to the last time we saw big Democratic surge, which was what, like 2006 and 2018?
Don't worry, Leslie Nielsen. I won't call you Shirley. Look, the bottom line is this. Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. What are we talking about here?
What are we talking about?
This is the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot, the margins. Look at where we are now. Democrats are ahead, but by just 2 points. Look at where Democrats were already ahead by in 2017. They were behind by 7 points. How about 2005 on the generic congressional ballot? Ahead by 7 points, ahead by 7 points. And now they're only ahead by 2 points. Their lead is less than half of where it was in either 2017 or 2005 in July of those years, the year before the midterm election. Yes, Donald Trump may be unpopular, but Democrats have not come anywhere close to sealing the deal at this particular point.
All right, so that's the clip. And he does mention Epstein and how it's hurting Trump, but also I believe it was before the latest bombshell had dropped. Why are Democrats flailing? 2 points is, if you're up by 2 and you're a Democrat, you ain't going to get that. There's no way they're going to win the House back with that.
No, I mean, it's kind of two main reasons in my mind. One, they're not doing anything. They are going more full steam ahead with this whole let's just wait and watch the house burn down, and then we'll turn to the people and say, you all, wouldn't it be better if we were there instead? Then we could have pulled the fire alarm. And then I also think there's no message. Like there's nothing. They're not giving people anything, because if you just say, oh, Trump's tax bill is bad, it's going to hurt you in X, Y, and Z way, then people say, okay, but if you were there, then what? Like, okay, and so what's the alternative? And there is no alternative. And this is even some of my critique with Bernie Sanders and AOC's oligarchy tour. There was no policy associated with it. It's just these wealthy people are bad. We should they can't run our government anymore. Okay, and Now what?
But why should you get it? Why? That was the whole Kamala Harris campaign. That was the entire campaign. Trump, she'd mock him, she'd laugh at him, but she had no vision. She presented no vision for a better America. And in fact, I made this exact point to people, and they're like, oh, well, I think she talked about a few things. I said, she told Sonny on The View, I wouldn't do anything differently. That means there's no vision.
Yeah.
There's no vision, because it's not like, well, this is how things could be better. She's saying we're going to keep things exactly the way they are. And things were bad, and they were getting worse for so many, especially on the affordability front, which does explain Mamdani.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and then you look at some of the good stuff that she was pushing, like the what is it? Like the
price gouging, I think.
Price gouging thing. And then that turned into Mark Cuban coming on and say, yeah, we're not going to talk about that no more. So then that stopped. Then we bring Liz Cheney on. Then we start saying we need Republican votes. But then you even look at it where to a point, yes, Trump's tax bill, a horrible, disgusting thing that's going to actually make the country worse for years to come too. Now that ICE is funded more than militaries, like it's horrible, disgusting. People kicking people off of Medicaid, and destroying not just rural hospitals, but hospitals in urban areas, rural and suburban areas too. I think, and that's the other thing. I think that as a black person who knows a bunch of black Democrats as well, for black people, it's a little irritating to a point to hear Democrats, when they talk about how policies are going to affect people, they talk about rural hospitals, mostly white areas, and it's like, okay, well, us as black people who've been the supporter of you all, talk about how it affects us too, as if like, oh, we're fine no matter what happens. But then I also say this too: a lot of people's memories aren't that short to remember Chuck Schumer is the reason that the Trump tax bill passed, because Chuck Schumer did that deal with Trump and whoever the head of the Senate Republicans are now, to pass that the stopgap funding to allow them to get to this point to where they can do this tax bill.
Right. Because he could have shut the government down, and he said, no, we'll continue it. And yeah, no, that's a really good point. One that completely escaped my mind. You know, you mentioned these urban hospitals, and I was thinking about Baltimore. If you go to downtown Baltimore, a lot of Baltimore is really now controlled by two massive hospital systems, Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland. And they own incredibly valuable real estate in downtown Baltimore. And it's a lot of poor areas. I mean, really, Baltimore's a rough area. A lot of it is, although it has a lot of beautiful areas too. Those hospitals, they ain't going nowhere. They're not going to be bankrupt. They're rich. They've got massive funding from the state, from donors. But you know what happens? Is going to happen is that the poor folks are going to get priced out. They're not going to be able to use. If they got an emergency, they're not going to say, "Don't take me there," because the treatment won't be covered. They'll get could get a 6-figure bill very, very quickly.
Yep. And you look at some like suburban, urban areas, even looking at places that aren't your hot spots of like your Baltimore. You look at places like Fort Washington, Maryland, or like smaller areas where you don't have this big funding from these big name hospitals. They are the smaller hospitals that most people have never heard of what it's actually called. They just know, oh, that's the hospital in Fort Washington, that's the hospital in Charles County, that's the hospital in Prince George's, that do run on Medicaid, that need Medicaid, and the people who live around there mostly have Medicaid that are going to be cut. So it is definitely there's a lot of downstream effects, and Democrats need to but you can't just tell people, hey, if this bill passes, Republicans have cut your Medicaid. Okay, so when you get in office, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to expand Medicaid? Are we going to go past that to having universal health care? What's the plan? There is no plan going forward. And you're going to have what you had last time. You're going to have in 2026 a bunch of people running for Congress and running for the Senate on Trump was bad, his policies hurt you, I'm here to not support those policies.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we're going to get into that real specific detail about that and how, I was given the most frustrating non-answers to the exact concerns you just raised at this event. I mentioned it in the opening. the Institute for Policy Studies Henry A. Wallace symposium yesterday. I went to it. It was free. I'll tell you right now, if it had been charged, I wouldn't have gone. And there you can see, I guess that's Tope Falarin, who's giving the opening. I missed that. But I just to get a sense of just the kind of platitudes and the failure to have any real powerful vision. Oh, yeah, let's show that up again. I want to just give the quote here. So you can see this quote. I guess that's from Falarin. Social movements don't just oppose injustice. They propose new realities. So that's what we're talking about as having a vision. But that's like the most, first of all, it took me forever to even understand what the hell is he talking about. And second of all, you're not proposing a reality. You say you propose them, but you don't say what they are, right? Like, why not say our social movement is going to demand, economic justice for poor America? I mean, I don't know, peace. Give us something, but we don't know what your new reality even is.
Yeah, there needs to be. Slogans are not doing it in 2025. People are so sick of a slogan that has no actual demands to it. There needs to be actual critical, detailed out demands that people can take and say when they go to someone, not just say, oh yeah, no, I'm for a new political reality. No, I'm for this policy. I'm for this policy.
Right, exactly. And they just wouldn't. So there was talk of policy. I'm going to say there was. And this guy really grinded my gears. And I did get into it with him. And I didn't think wouldn't like him because, Faz Shakir, here he is. There's his picture. This is from NBC News. And the way they described him on January 16, this is so perfect. I'll get into why he really ticked me off. But he spoke. And by the way, he made a suggestion. I share this with you, Carlos. He said we need to, Medicare for all, he supports it, but he also said we need to move towards like publicly owned hospitals or at least have some. And I totally agree with that. We have publicly owned hospitals. We used to have more. DC General, I think it's closed. Isn't there a Prince George's Community Hospital, I believe? I'm not sure.
But I'm not 100% on that.
There might be, but there are community owned, and he's right. We should have those. I agree. That's a really great suggestion. I'll get into what his response was when I confront him about that, though. But I love this. A longtime Democratic political operative who managed Sanders' campaign is jumping into the race for chair of the DNC a few weeks before the vote. I think he got like 2%.
I think that's 2 votes.
He got like 2 votes, right?
Yeah, it was barely anything. Yeah.
So given that fact, when you think people who are like clearly shunned by the party, rejected AOC, right? They put a dead man, right? They voted in a dead man over her.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think they would say, nah, maybe this isn't working for me. This isn't the right answer, but they can't break with the party.
People, I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome. I don't know if it's just like a little bit of masochism here and there. It's a little bit of like, the longing to get hit or something. I don't know what it is. It is like they love to be treated badly. And it's like, but I think it is also shows a little bit of their lack of political imagination. It shows that they believe that this is the only way things can work. There is no other way to do it. You have to work within this 2-party system. You have to be a part of this party. And I have to basically take my lumps and lashes and just keep on trucking. And the problem is that they criticize people for trying to build up another party or the Green Party or third party or whatever by saying, oh, well, that'll never work. Show us where what you've done is actually working. Because to me, you're wasting time.
I think it's worse than wasting time. I think they're actually, as being sheepdogs on the left, to this, being the sheepdogs at the left end, they're actually preventing us or trying, and with some degree of effectiveness, preventing us from building a movement that really will address the challenges that we face. I fear, and we'll get to this maybe a little later, I don't want to billboard this for future, I fear that could be what we're seeing with Mamdani too. that in the end, and this is what I know you do watch Revolutionary Blackout Network. This was Nick Cruz's point, is that he's anesthetizing the left. He's making us calm, relaxed, thinking, oh, everything's okay. And this was what I heard an organizer. I don't know if I gave you this quote, but I remember this organizer I met with, and we were talking about Obama, and he said, remember, like after Obama was elected, we're all like, okay, black guy won, we can all go home. And he's like, no, that's not how it works. And that's what like I'm wondering about with Mamdani. Okay, Muslim guy won, we can all go home. And really, no, they're not. That's not going to solve the problem. The Democratic Party can't be the solution. Is that? Do you worry about that too? Because I that's where I was getting that. If you're in the Democratic Party, you can't be the solution.
Yes and no. I agree that I'll say this for the calmness part of it. I'm not gonna criticize it too much because I do think some people choose to use that framing because to a lot of just voters, they're not in a revolutionary mindset. There a lot of people are just in this like, oh no, that's a little harsh, that's a little strong, that's a little. I remember we were even having back when we both worked for Our Revolution, it was even people who were saying like they like the term Our Revolution, but can we change it to like our peaceful revolution? Because it just seems more like softer to people. I think for some reason in this country, because we haven't had many actual revolutions, people are more, they like a more nice frame thing, which I think is also a critique to our media that tells people, oh no, revolutionary things are bad. But I think also it's going to be interesting to see what happens when he's in office, who he surrounds himself with, how things move, because I think that the Democratic Party does a really good job of indoctrination, of once you get in, you will submit to who's telling you what to do. And the one thing that I'm a little surprised at is that there is not a spokespeople from his side saying that all of these Islamophobic comments that are being made, all of the critiques of Cuomo and Eric Adams coming into the race and all that are to stop this actual populist movement. I think that if they continue the message on like this is a populist movement and not just specifically this is a Democratic Party thing, I think that there's some chances of him doing it. Now, I also think what has not been focused on enough is the New York City Council as well, because he can't really do anything much as mayor by himself. He's going to need a city council, and I don't really hear anyone talking about the city council candidates at all.
I hear you. I mean, there's a lot of issues there. The council is not to his left, obviously, at least the way he campaigned, although some of the members, I think, are certainly more progressive than Eric Adams. So, and the mayor of New York has a lot of power. It's true he can't pass laws, but as I understand it, the mayor, it's a pretty powerful position in terms of just as mayors go, they have a lot of control over how the city operates. So we'll see how that goes. I really do worry, though, as a Democrat, and we'll get into more with the comment that he's going to discourage use of globalize the intifada. But I just wanted to getting back to Faz Shakir. I mean, this is a guy who supported Bernie, who calls himself an independent and seemed to be kind of maybe willing to play a little bit of an outside game. And I confronted him on his, I said, hey, you say you want publicly owned hospitals. Why do you have any reason to believe the Democratic Party would ever agree to that? Would ever agree to take private, profitable, valuable properties, hospitals away from the private sector? Why would that ever happen? Why would the party of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Barack Obama ever do that? So he says, well, that's not the whole party. There's also AOC and there's, Bernie. And I said, dude, they're not the leaders of the party. They don't make the policy of the party. The party is made by the people I just mentioned. So why would you ever have reason to think they'll ever do what you just said should be done? So he says, well, we're taking over the party. We're building up the party. I said, no, you're not. That's not happening. Democrats do some good things. No, they don't. They make things worse. I mean, for and I was really going at him. I mean, I was making a scene. I was making a spectacle of myself, pissing people off, and maybe I shouldn't have. But I was losing it, Carlos, because it was just more platitudes and more BS, and I was getting more and more ticked off. And I said to him, he said, well, there's no appetite for a third party. I said, you're a leader. Isn't it your job to build that appetite? Isn't it your job to lead people to a more progressive group? And he said, well, I don't see it that way. I'm a Democrat. And that point, I was like, yeah, but you're a Democrat because you're saying they'll do good things, but they're not. So that's why. And he just wouldn't, like, there was no budging. But that line, I'm a Democrat, is like, okay, I'm a Jew. So therefore, I'm an Israeli. So therefore, I'm not going to say Israel shouldn't murder Palestinians in cold blood. I mean, isn't that the same? Is there a difference? Am I missing something? What am I missing?
If we can find what you're missing, then we'll win the Carmen Sandiego game, because I don't see it either. I don't get how. And to me, Fashacure, once you run to be the chair of the DNC, you're full on bought in to what's going on. And to me, this is also why Republicans are able to, and I'll say this, I think the Republican Party is horrible, Democratic Party is horrible. They're both horrible in their own way and in similar ways too. But this is what gets me, because I get into arguments with Republicans a lot about this when they say, oh, the Democratic Party is socialist. It's like, no, the same people who you all say are socialists, like your AOCs, Ilhan Omar's, they don't run anything. They are just used as props to the left to say, hey, look what we got over here for you. Come join us. Not the majority of everyone in office who's a Democrat is a out capitalist who does not believe in any type of worker solidarity, any type of people-based anything that's actually rooted in any type of populist movement or any type of socialism. And for Fashacure to act as if, oh, we can build appetite, that is my thing too. The way that Trump came over and took over the party, because Democrats love to use that, or the Democratic progressives or the neo-progressives love to use it as, well, Trump took over the Republican Party and MAGA took over the party. That's because they weren't challenging the economic state of the party. Everyone agreed with that. It was a social movement for the Republican Party. The Democratic Party, switching it over would be an economic thing, which, how are the people who fund the party, who are the people that they really answer to, they're not going to go along with that. So you're asking elected members of office to turn their back on the only way they know how to get elected. And I think that is the ultimate problem. I cannot, if you think that the only way for you to walk down the street is you to stand on the left sidewalk and not the right sidewalk, I can't convince you to walk down the right sidewalk or the middle of the road. I can't, because you feel like that's the only way to walk. There is no convincing a party that in their mind knows that this is the only way that they can win.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. They're part of this club. They get a lot of value out of being in the club. Even Fashacure, as you point out, it's not just Stockholm Syndrome, although it sort of is, but he can console himself with his $244,000-$45,000 a year salary. And people say, well, that's not even so much. Well, first of all, it's a ton. The average American makes well under 100,000. But, people who make in that kind of range, at least from my experience as a lawyer, you're a partner in a law firm, or you're an associate in a law firm, you could make a lot more. But you work so friggin' hard. It really sucks. Now, if you're the boss, if you're the managing director, if you're the CEO, that's really good. Then your life is really good. He's the CEO. He's the executive director. Yeah, he doesn't make, he's not making what a partner or an associate in a big law firm or a partner in a mid-level law firm is making. It's true. But he has a much better job. He gets to go to these events. People listen to what he has to say. He gets to go on podcasts like mine, or, well, not mine, but he gets to go chatter, and people know who he is. He's not toiling away in obscurity in some unpleasant office 12 hours a day for billionaires, which is what you do if you're a corporate lawyer. So he has a really good gig, and he's not going to want to give it up, and he ain't going to be getting that $250,000 or more a year if he starts saying, yeah, we got to go to the Green Party because the people who are writing checks to his group, they're more perfect union, which I don't, what is more perfect union anyway, Carls? I don't know what the hell they are.
I thought it was I thought it was news because they do a lot of reporting on unionization. I see that they do a lot on social media on TikTok, Instagram and stuff, talking about union drives, worker solidarity, things like that.
Okay, so they're trying to promote unionization.
Yeah, I would say, and I would put it more in a basket similar to like the Nina Turner thing of like, we are somebody, which honestly, side note, have we ever seen that go anywhere?
I know. It's like, I don't get it. What is it? A podcast that she does? And I don't think she's that good. I mean, you and I have sort of different views about her. I don't know. I used to like her more. I'll say it that way.
Same. I think she's effective at what I think she is part of the problem, but also helping the solution. Like, yes, I believe that we do need people, neo-progressives, to be in the Democratic Party to say how bad the party is. But I think where that stops is that they do not say, I am here telling people you need to leave if you agree with me on policy. You can't, this isn't a place for you. I honestly think one of the most helpful voices recently has been around getting actual leftists to leave the Democratic Party was who's the old guy who always keeps speaking about, he was a Clinton guy. He always keeps speaking about how to win the race and
okay. Yeah. Skeletor, Carville. Carville.
I think he was helpful with the one thing he said of like, I don't know when progressives are going to realize this is not your party. If you want to actually do these things, go somewhere else. That's what we need, more people just to come out and say, this isn't your party, you won't win.
Exactly right. And you know what I said I just want to, because obviously Shakir didn't get the message. He wants to be in that club. He likes getting his money. But I made the point because he said, it's AOC's, and as he said, the oligarchy thing went nowhere. It went over like a lead balloon. It did nothing for, they have 2+, right, over the Republicans. So they're way below where they were, 4 years or 8 years ago. So clearly that was a bust. But he said, it's not just the party of Jeffries and Schumer. It's also the party of AOC. And I said to him, well, AOC is on this tour went nowhere, and she's telling people at her tour that in Arizona that Gallego and Mark Kelly are great, are fantastic. That was the term she used, fantastic. And I said to him, are they fantastic? Well, on some issues, and he said, maybe if you just have like you're a single issue person. And I said, what issue are they good on? You said, you're saying I'm a single issue person. They're bad on every issue. They're bad on Medicare for all. They don't support it. They're bad on Israel. They support weapons for Israel. What are they good at? You're saying they're, and he was like, they're really bad on Gaza. And I said, they're for selling. They totally support more weapons to Israel. They don't support Medicare. I said, what are they good on? What's a good issue for them? So he said, well, they wouldn't vote to cut Medicaid. And again, that goes to your point. That's no vision. That's like, keep things the way they are. And
it's the bare minimum. It's like telling people, hey, I'm not for like hitting your child from like hitting them. What? Okay. You're not going to hit my child. So what do I do with that? All right, cool. Thank you.
Well, this was that's like a perfect example of that as well. What's better about them? What's good about them? Well, they didn't go to Epstein Island. They didn't write in Trump in his book. So, okay, well, that's
hooray. So I guess when you're in office, you're just not going to do anything to hurt me, but you're not going to do anything to help me either. Right. It's even how I look at just all the politicians who do not run on any type of like policy. They just run on like these, like you were saying, just platitudes of like, hey, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to keep like the way. Oh no, that was my point with ICE funding. Now ICE is now it's funded almost the same as like our military. It may be
absurd. It's incredible, right?
Can you imagine any of these Democrats coming out to say, when we get back in office, we're going to reduce ICE funding? They're going to keep ICE funding exactly the way it is.
Yeah, maybe if it was an AOC or something, but they make so many compromises.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the platitudes, the queen of the platitudes. And you made a good point about Kamala. She did when she first was announced, and I had zero hope for her at all. But she did talk a little bit about price gouging and monopolistic practices and how she would crack down on those, and then immediately stopped talking about it. That was her most popular moment. When she was saying, "I'll take on the billionaire class a little bit." I never thought she would, by the way, Carlos. Yeah. But they should have. You would have thought the billionaires would have said to her, "Yeah, it's okay to talk about it. You just ain't going to do it, right?" But they didn't even want to let her say.
Oh no, the billionaires like if you start talking about it too much, then people start actually thinking it may happen. We don't even want to have people have a thought of you're going to do better in here. Okay, we want you to know you're down here and we are up here, and there will be no change in it.
So Carlos, I put Aru up here, Aru Shiny a J, I guess, I'm not sure. And I got into it with her too. And I'm really mad at myself, because it does no good. These people are embedded in the movement. They're never going to give me, just like Harris would never give poor struggling working people, Palestinians, what they want from her. These people aren't going to give me what I want, which is to acknowledge, yeah, the Democrat Party is a dead end. Yes, we need to move in a different direction, whatever. They're never going to say that. So for me to even try is beating my head against the wall, and it just gets me angry and upset, and I look like a doofus. But all that said, before we get into my exchange with her, you had a reaction when I told you that the Sunrise Movement was there.
Yeah, I am very disappointed in what happened with the Sunrise Movement, because I saw them in the same air at first when they started, like climate defiance. The people who were going out and like actually protesting lawmakers, blocking traffic, doing things. And that's what Sunrise Movement was kind of putting itself up as. Remember, Sunrise Movement was with the AOC when she first got in office to protest Nancy Pelosi as speaker in her office. So I saw Sunrise Movement as this, and it just looks like as Sunrise Movement did that mindset of, well, hold up, do we want Republicans or Democrats? We have to pick a side. There's no other option, but we have to support somebody. So, hey, we're going to go get behind Joe Biden, even though he says, nah, fracking will continue, and we're going to keep doing that, even though that was one of Sunrise Movement's biggest issues was fracking. Joe Biden's for it. Yeah, cool. Well, who cares? We don't want Trump, and he's bad. Even though Biden approved all of these oil pipeline contracts and also passed legislation in that whole Build Back Better BS bill he passed, which is just an infrastructure bill that also sold off public lands to private industry. So, I mean, it's like Democrats do the same exact things that Republicans do, just with slightly different framing. That's it.
I really was so disappointed in Sunrise, 100%. But you mentioned climate defiance, and I actually did protest, went to a few actions as a climate defiance activist, and shut down a meeting with Shelley Moore Capito, I believe is her name, or Capito. She's a West Virginian senator. But I've been really disappointed. Don't want to let that go without a comment. I've been disappointed in climate defiance. Look at this, Carlos. They even went further than Sunrise. Sunrise didn't endorse, like, I hate the way groups do this. This is what Our Revolution did too. Like, they try to have their cake and eat it too. We're not going to endorse Harris, but we are going to get our activists out to knock on doors and make phone calls. So send us money anyway, even though, because that's what it is. It's a fundraising opportunity for them, and they don't want to lose it.
And to me, that's just, to me, anytime you're saying support in any kind of capacity, you're endorsing that person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like saying, no, I don't think that you would be good as mayor, but if you hand me some of your flyers, I'll pass them out, give them to people. I'll tell people that like, hey, they should vote for you, but I don't support you.
Well, that was back in 2016. What's his name? Ta-Nehisi Coates was under a lot of pressure to endorse someone, either from Hillary for sure, but also the Bernie people. And he ultimately said he was voting for Bernie, but wouldn't endorse Bernie. And I kind of thought, well, is that an endorsement or not? Because it was I didn't like it. You know, I was for Bernie. I want him to come out full throated, but he said, yeah, they're both bad for black people, but Bernie's less bad. And I didn't find that to be very helpful, to be perfectly honest, because Bernie really needed more black support than he got. But I get what you're saying in the end. And a lot of people said it. No, if you say you're going to vote for someone, it's the same as an endorsement. And it's close. But
I do get your point. I think saying I'm going to vote for someone, but not endorse them, I think you might as well just say that you're going to endorse them. Like, you might as well say it. I think it is power to saying I am endorsing and telling people to vote for this person, rather than just saying I'm voting for him, but do what you want. It has different weight to it. But I think if you're going to support that person, then go all out and support them. Say, no, I support you. You should go vote for him. And also, I think endorsing someone does not take money and doing ads and all that. At least just telling the people on social media who support you, or just telling at these conventions and things, hey, vote for Bernie Sanders.
Well, what's so disingenuous, too, is for me, the difference between Coates and these groups is Coates was just telling, this is my personal preference, which is fine. I mean, of course, he can do that. I want him to endorse Bernie, but okay, he didn't. That's his choice. I can't criticize, I can say you're wrong, whatever, but we live freedom of speech. But what these groups are doing, I think, is just phony. I think it's disingenuous. They're saying, because they know Kamala Harris is bad for the environment. So climate defiance, they know that Harris has supported really bad and Biden supported terrible policies. And Harris wouldn't even throw him a bone and say, yeah, I'm against fracking. So they can endorse her in good, and look like, and keep any credibility. But at the same time, they want to fundraise off of her. So they say, oh, yeah, we're going to help. We're going to try to elect her, or we're going to try to stop Trump. We're not really for her, but we're trying to stop Trump. So give us money. Again, I find that pretty despicable, to be perfectly honest with you. And I did confront her about this, and I brought up all the terrible things that Harris Biden had done and Harris's position. And she said, well, Trump's worse. And that was it. There was no, and I asked her for examples. I said, and she's like, well, he's a denier and he's this. Deny the policy, whether you deny it or not. It's almost worse if you say, yeah, this is a problem, but we're going to keep drilling and we're going to keep approving leases. I mean,
does it make it, would you rather someone tell you to your face, I don't think climate change is real? Or would you rather someone say, I think it's real, I just think the solutions that you're saying aren't realistic? So then it minimizes what should be done. At least knowing Trump does not think climate change is a real thing, we can all say we know we don't expect anything from him. We know he's not gonna do anything about it, so we can energize people against that. If you go on the other side of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to say, we think climate change is real, but not fracking is the answer, still giving tax breaks to oil companies, we should still continue to do that, then it starts limiting in people's mind what could actually work against it. So now What are we left with? Just saying people recycle more? Yeah. A carpool. Yeah, carpool.
So there.
Yeah.
So the Society of Environmental Journalists apparently wanted, as far as I can tell from the way they reprinted this article by the Washington Post, they wanted Sunrise to endorse Harris, and they note from what the Post, Harris has energized young voters and environmental groups, which I was quite surprised to read that she had energized young voters, because my understanding was that she had not energized young voters, and that's indeed the truth. Here's what Tufts Now said right after the election. Young voters did shift towards Trump, but favored Harris overall, but not nearly enough. And I think we've been through all the reasons why. I mean, because she wasn't in any way an exciting or energizing candidate, or one who spoke to the real concerns of young folks.
Yeah, and I think that this is something that both parties do really, really well in their own aspect. of using paid media to generate this sort of consent for who has support. I mean, when you looked at when Kamala Harris came out and there was that whole Kamala Harris's brat and all this other like social media influencer stuff, people, I know people who really said, oh, there's an energy around Kamala Harris. And then now that they know all of that was paid for, like it wasn't just organic, they're like, oh, yeah, there really wasn't any real support for her. It was just kind of the normal Democrats who are going to support. To me, the people who supported Kamala Harris, like full throated support, they would have supported any Democratic nominee that they put up. They could have said Joe Biden will be your nominee still. People would have still shown the same amount of support. I think
Joe Biden AOC and Bernie would have, because remember they were telling him
he shouldn't leave. Which is to me also the fact that no one has come to them yet and say, oh, sit down and explain to us, what was that about? What was it about that you all said that this man should continue, even when you had Nancy Pelosi, the corporate side, saying, no, he should not continue? What was it that did you all get any consensus? Because from Pramila Jayapal, she trusted Joe Biden when it came to Build Back Better, and that failed. So did you get another just vibe from him that he was going to do something for you now?
I wondered whether they were more afraid of Kamala. I mean, it wasn't clear at that moment that Harris would be the replacement, right? We didn't know that. I know Obama didn't want it to be Harris. Obama wanted.
I knew that they were going to go with Kamala Harris to be the replacement, because to me, I think the backlash that the party would have gotten from Black people that you're going to skip over, especially if it wasn't like, oh, we're going to replace her with another Black woman or something. It's like, oh, no, we're going to replace her with a Gavin Newsom. And you're going to tell a bunch of Black people that, yeah, thank you for being the only reason that Joe Biden won primarily. Now I need you to go away now and mind your business while we put in another white man and tell you what's happening. Now, I think the original sin of that was they should never made her vice president. I feel like that's where it all started wrong. And
she was an interesting choice, right? Well, I think it was obviously an old white guy, right, who had, a Jim Crow support in his background, right? He had been sort of a segregationist at one point.
Old segregationist white man who was also very much kind of anti-abortion too in some ways, who was known as like harassing Anita Hill for her during her hearing.
Right. Like, he was cape for Clarence Thomas.
Yeah. Who literally told people on the debate stage, it is not that Black people don't want to raise their children right, it's that they do not know how to raise.
I don't remember him.
He said that when they were all talking about the different issues when it comes to like Black children and education rates, and how that Black children just need to play the record player more for their kids.
Wow, like baby Mozart.
Yeah,
that's the answer, along with carpools.
Yeah,
but the problem is, the problem with Harris is it's just a brown face in a high place, not a person who had any commitment to social justice. So,
Kamala Harris
but for the K Hive, right? Which again, that's totally top down, right? The K Hive was they got all this seed money from corporate aligned groups to attack anyone who criticized her as racist and sexist. They didn't care. They don't want social justice.
No.
They want somebody who's brown who will not support. And I say brown because she's Blasian, she's Black and Asian. That they want someone who's going to support corporate priorities, but that they can claim if you don't like them, it's because you're a racist or you're a sexist or you're both.
They want just a theoretical win. They want,
which, by the way, that's exactly what Obama did. Remember, he went to some of the brothers ain't feeling a woman.
He really did, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, out of all the things that you could have opened your mouth and said, no one was asking for that. It's just like, did you see recently Obama's talking about Democrats need to toughen up
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
can you please just go back to doing these Netflix specials that you do? Like, go to just being a celebrity now. To me, I wish, and this is the one time I will say I wish Obama was similar to other previous presidents.
To W.
When they're done, they're just gone.
W is gone. He's painting. He's back in his ranch. He's painting and clearing brush.
The only other person I got issues with is Bill Clinton, because sometimes he wants to come out and do stuff. I feel like this. You never hear about George Bush endorsing people. You don't hear about the Cheneys still endorsing. Well, I guess with Kamala Harris, they did too. But I'm like, to me, Bill Clinton, go sit down. Obama, sit down. Hillary Clinton, you never won anything. You never won the presidency. You really shouldn't be talking about who should be president or anything. Michelle Obama minds her business. She does not go out here and say who should support, who to vote for. She's doing a podcast about family things. Now, that's the other part too. I think that we are in a time where, and this kind of goes to these kind of neo progressive people, and I wouldn't even I'm putting Jasmine Crockett in a neo progressive grouping, not because she is progressive. She's a very corporatized Democrat herself, but the parties, both Republican and Democrat, no longer run on policies. They run on vibes and personality, where people like Jasmine Crockett's attitude and ferociousness. And that's why you see people, when they're saying, oh, we need new leaders, we cannot have these same old Democrats be in office. They're not saying it because of the policies. They're saying, we just want someone who goes to Trump with an attitude.
Yes.
Okay, so what do I do with that? Like what do we do? Because to me, what you're saying is Hakeem Jeffries isn't an issue. We just want him to be a little bit louder and have
his ties to Wall Street, the millions he gets from AIPAC, that's not a concern. Mm-hmm. It's just he should speak out more against rounding up immigrants, which he should, by the way. He should be.
But present us with what you're going to do about it.
Yes.
How would you stop it? Just like I think the whole thing about Cory Booker, I don't get why anyone cared what Cory Booker did. Yes,
right. It was poor performative. It was, and Jeffries did the same thing, and it did nothing. It's this, but also a fight oligarchy, totally performative.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? I think Republican voters hold their elected officials to a point outside of Trump, because I do not think the Republican Party or Republican voters do anything really to hold Trump accountable. But they hold their congressional people to a little bit more of an account than Democrats.
I agree.
Because Republicans will say, oh, you're not actually fighting for us. Like we feel like you're not even theoretically fighting for us. Oh, you're gone. Whereas Democrats, you can kind of do once you're in office, you kind of do what you want. And Democrats will kind of be like, I don't like it, but hey, they're better than the Republican person. Republicans will, even in the primary, put in people who they know will have a harder time in the general election, but say, I like what they're saying. Where Democrats are one of the only party, or I guess, the two out of the two main parties who will say, I will vote for someone in the primary who I know does not align with my values at all, just because I think they have a better chance of winning.
I could not agree with you more, Carlos, not Arlen, Carlos. I called Arlen Carlos the other day. I could not agree with you more, Carlos. And I've made this point to even neo-progressives, and I've said, look what the Republicans do. They vote out John Boehner. They vote out Eric Cantor. They voted out the California guy, I can't remember his name now, and put Mike Johnson in. And they were talking about voting out Mike Johnson. They'll get rid of their speaker in a heartbeat if the speaker doesn't do what they want. Whereas Democrats, Nancy Pelosi is Mama Bear forever. And then she leaves, and then it's Hakeem Jeffries, and that's it. And we're all going to fall in line. We're all going to support him, even if he's corporate, even if he's corrupt. And I've made this point to neo-progressives. I made this point even to Congress members who are like, well, what do you want us to do? We have to get along. We have to all go, if we don't support them, they'll relegate us to some distant committee or nothing at all. Well, you're not getting anything anyway. That's so wrong. And the neo-progressives will say, well, that just shows how they're a dysfunctional party, that if the leader doesn't do what they want, then they get rid of them. I'm like, no, that's not dysfunctional at all. That's actually good. That's actually fighting for your values and your constituents.
Yeah. I mean, any fear that they have of, oh, if we do this, then we're not going to get X, Y, and Z, you're already not getting it. So obviously, to me, AOC is the most perfect example. You literally said, I will never support anyone challenging an incumbent again. And they still said, yeah, we could care less what you say you're going to do.
Right.
You're not
That's
getting anything because we don't like you. But then I'm still going to help out the party. I'm still going to do every walk in lockstep, where even Jasmine Crockett is even saying that she knows the party does not care for her and has told her you need to stop advocating as much as you do. But what do you still do? You're still going to advocate for the party and try to help them. So you're not even, at this point, you don't even care about getting anything for yourself. Hell, can you at least get something for the people then? Can you at least do something?
Yeah. So what do we do? And Carlos, I'm going to put up Mamdani here. This was the video I did, but I mean, I'm kind of hopeless. And I know you were talking about support independents, support non-Dems, try to build an alternative. I'm with you. I hate to say it's so hard, but it's hard to get people who should, I believe, get it to even get it. I don't know. Is it just why is this such a heavy lift? And maybe it's not. Maybe we're starting to move in. I've heard people say, yeah, I am hearing whisperings about a third party. I'm hearing talk about alternatives.
I think in the United States, as the capitalist colonial colony country that we are and we exist in, I think has made it so hard. I think that it would have been easier for a lot of this to happen if we were starting back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s. I think if that's when if we were living in the 60s, 70s, 80s now, I think it would be easier to start having third parties spring up, even in the 30s, 40s. It would have been easier. I think because the corporations and the ruling class have so much power consolidated to them, it is almost near impossible for this sort of revolution without a great awakening. And I don't want to sound, what is it, like doomorous or something, but it starts to make me and other people believe it's going to have to get so worse, so horrible for everyone that there is no other option. Where we get to literally like we actually are having a revolution type of thing. And I want to do this over the next few months. Look at other countries that have had like revolutions and see like has there ever been a revolution of the ruling class of what actually is controlled by the government has there been a change without a huge revolution of just people are just so worse off that it is something that actually happens? Because maybe it's not going to happen by this kind of like we all voting for things and then it slowly turns over. It's going to have to be some big event of people just saying, no, I'm just done.
Yeah, I think that's quite possible. And we have seen evolution. I mean, you look at, I think, some of the Western European countries that went from monarchies. France had a violent revolution where they guillotined, they chopped off the king's head. And then there was another king who came back. So, yeah, but England, it does seem like the UK kind of did evolve to become more democratic. But your point is well taken. There's a lot of counterexamples. But the problem with revolutions is sometimes the result is even worse, right? You get a worse outcome than you had. I mean, Stalin, I don't think anyone would look at Stalin and say he was so much better than the Tsar. Not that the Tsar was good. So in terms of, though, alternatives, I think we do need to move. I'm very concerned about Mamdani. And a big part of my concern is he's in the Democratic Party. He's in that apple, in that barrel with all those tons of rotten apples. Now he's trying to cozy up to the billionaires. And you see this comment here that I thought this was pretty funny what I wrote. I will discourage you. Well, Mohammed El-Kurd, one of his supporters, says, consider the intifada globalized. He said that because Mamdani won. And then Mamdani says, I'm not going to use the term. I discourage its use. And he's like, wait, what? So do we get ourselves, again, we're too, I don't know, maybe you're not. And I do see what Nick Cruz was saying about being anesthetized, but maybe it's also we get excited. We get our hopes up. AOC, like I was excited about AOC. I was excited for Bernie. And then they dash us against the rocks like a wave.
I will forever say I do give Bernie Sanders, AOC, Omar, all of them, even Ayanna Pressley, who's more conservative than all of the rest of the squad members. I give them credit for helping me have my political awakening into leftist politics too. So I think there is a place for these people to awaken people into a better mindset. I think they need to be taken just for that. Thank you for helping me understand what these policies are. Now I just understand you're not going to put them in place. You're just here to enlighten people. That's it. Good for you.
Well, that was what Brianna Joy Gray said to Jamal Bowman. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. She said, no, I don't think you were a total waste of time, because now I know that you were a total waste of time. I wouldn't have known that until I saw you just take up space and do nothing. Yeah. Now I know.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what we should use it as. I think that one of the biggest messages that should come from actual leftists should be AOC has been great. Has been a great reason of why this won't work. Ilhan Omar has been a great reason why this won't work. Rashida Tlaib to me has been a great example of why this will not work, and how you literally have a party that basically calls you anti-Semitic and everything but a child of God, and you're not getting anywhere, and you're still supporting them, and they don't care. It should show everyone you cannot please the demon enough at all. And I mean, right. That's true on both parties. Republicans, right. You can't please Trump enough. Democrats, you can't please the corporate power. Because again, to the Democrats, I don't think it's a thing of like supporting one person as it is with the Republicans. I think it's just corporate power. Right.
Yeah, there's actually a little bit more flexibility if you're a Republican to criticize certain aspects of the party than as a Democrat. All right, before we go, just this last comment on Mamdani. I saw this just maybe a half hour before we went live today, Carlos, and I love to see this from Molly. I don't know who Molly is, but thank you for posting. Is Mamdani already betraying us? This was Wednesday's program, and Molly writes, smooth operator and a fraud. And I have to say, that's sort of like, I loved how smooth and elegant Obama was until I didn't. And then when I didn't, I was like, oh yeah, is he just is he just a snake oil salesman? Is he just a, guy who comes to my door and he looks really, good and his suit is pressed and he's just going to sell me, a line. And that's kind of like when I look at this picture of Mamdani with that smile, with the Pepsi grin, I'm like, wait a sec, is he getting over on me?
Okay, and this is the part where I don't want to go that far, and maybe this is my own naivete in it. I don't want to go that far because I do think I think the stuff he's been running on. Also, I'll say this. For him, it's a little bit different than like a lot of the congressional presidential level people, because when you get local, you kind of focus on just local issues. Like I wouldn't say free buses is necessarily like a socialist revolutionary policy. It's a makes sense policy that honestly,
it's actually kind of middle of the road. We got it in Montgomery County.
Yeah, Montgomery County has. I think DC has free public bus. Like it's normal to a lot of people. So I'm not looking at him to. I don't look at him to lead in a socialist revolution. I look at Mamdani to lead in almost like a wave of progressivism within New York City. Well, he may be like a step up from Bill de Blasio, which honestly for New York would be better given what they have now. Like to me, he is the best out of all of their options, and also given that in New York City, it's almost impossible to be a third party in New York as a state because of Andrew Cuomo. To me also, I wonder if the only reason Mamdani is where he is because of Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams being there as well.
Yeah, I agree with that also. I think we can't look at Mamdani's win in a vacuum. It's not just that New Yorkers were prepared for this much more progressive candidate. It was that he was running against really, really bad alternatives.
Yeah.
Carlos, that's going to do it. Unless you got a final word, you always get a final word. Give my guests a final word. Anything else you want to add before you go enjoy your weekend?
We gotta I would say vote your conscience, but we got to do more than that. We got to organize outside of the two-party system. Join the third party. I'll say this: even if you don't want to go as far as joining a third party, changing your party registration, all that, at least vote for the most progressive person or leftist person in the Democratic primary if you're a registered Democrat. And then when it gets to the general, if that person didn't win, vote third party. Do it that way.
Yeah, I'm in the same place as you. I'm hopeful. I'm still a little bit hopeful for Mamdani, but I was disappointed. I did not like his conceding 1 inch to the billionaire class, but
no,
he did.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks so much for being part of Halitics, and thank you especially, Carlos. We'll do this again soon, I hope.
Always. I hope so.